they don't enjoy. In my particular line of work, I enter people's story. And so I treat psychological disorders, and people, we're still in a society that if you have anxiety or if you have depression or if you have a mental health disorder, it's still something that's sometimes somewhat of a stigma. And I want to help reduce that stigma. And so I just love helping people. I love bringing out the best in people. I want everyone's story to be amazing. As a coach, I just love working with all of my scholars and helping them be the best people they can possibly be. And one of my missions that I have come up with in life is I'm here to reduce unnecessary suffering on earth. And that keeps me going every single day with so much excitement. And this has become part of my story. You know, I believe in simplicity. And so I want the message today just to be a very simple message, but everyone can kind of take something from it. And so our stories are so unique to who we are, because what I see daily on a practice, what I see is that everyone comes to me with a story. And unfortunately, the individuals that I serve, they have come to me with some of these BS and lies, right? And so they sit down on my couch and they get to talking, and we start unpacking their story. And there's always some lies that we have to attack. There's always some BS that we have to attack. And I don't know where it might come from. And then it's my job to really take these symptoms that they're experiencing in my office and be very precise on how I analyze these symptoms and their thinking patterns and their behaviors, and give them some tools so they can manage these symptoms to live a very successful life, which the first part is easy. Everyone can get caught up in their story. And every one of our stories are going to involve a few things. And here's the first thing I want you to understand. In your story right now, you have safe people and unsafe people in your story. And believe it or not, even though you might be an amazing human being, your mother can be an unsafe person. Your father can be an unsafe person. Your uncle, your grandma, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your neighbor, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your professor. There are safe people and there's unsafe people. And if you keep enough unsafe people around that you are not able to identify, it could easily come into this anxiety where you have this excessive fear, or you have this extreme depression, or you start using substances because you're trying to cope with all the horrible people in your life. And some people, I saw a horrendous case of hoarding today that you wouldn't believe it. There was poop all over this individual's kitchen, and they gone through so much trauma. And then a lot of us understand what people pleasing look like. And then when they try to manage that, they don't have healthy coping skills, so they have all these unhealthy coping skills. And then this individual starts to live in isolation because they've lived their life in avoidance. And it all started with not getting rid of some of the unsafe people in their story, or not really processing the unsafe people in their story. And so every one of us have a story. And so I want to give you an example of what I see on a typical day. Is you have an individual who sits in front of me, and they grew up with this critical parent. And this parent is always telling them, don't do that, do this, don't do this, do this. You represent the family, be perfect, get straight A's, do this, do that. And this kid starts to develop this critical parent aspect. So they walk through the world, they have this level of anxiety, which is avoiding any negative feedback at all costs. And that's that perfectionism, because they're not trying to ignite the critical parent in others that they had to deal with their whole life. And so usually what happened in these cases, they don't take risks. They avoid situations where they can be criticized. They find comfort in normalized dysfunction, and they continue the cycle over and over again. And this is all part of kind of the story of them not understanding how a critical parent can lead to perfectionism and lead to avoidance. And some people have mastered the art of avoidance in their story. And so I want to just kind of present this framework and how to break down all of this stuff. And then the 4 major ways that people cope with all of this stuff is in life. Anxiety is one of the #1 mental health disorders on earth. Depression is #1 and 2. They take turns being #1 and 2. and substance abuse is right there. And then people just remain stuck in their story. Anxiety is nothing more than this excessive fear, this fear of failure, this fear of all these things, fear of people judging them, fear of people looking down, fear of people thinking they're not perfect. And then it leads to this depression. Anxiety and depression go hand in hand. They live with each other. And then life gets so difficult for a lot of people, and they have all this anxiety, and they haven't learned how to read to cope. They haven't learned how to run to cope. They haven't learned how to write to cope. They haven't learned how to meditate to cope, to pray to cope. So then they start using substances to cope, and then they start smoking weed and drinking and doing all kind of drugs because life is so horrible. And then life just gets really, really horrible, and they remain stuck in a cycle of dysfunction. And if we were all sitting in a room together, I'll have everybody scream, normalize dysfunction. Say it with me, normalize dysfunction. Normalized dysfunctions become so normalized that people stay stuck in their same cycle with the same people, going to the same playground, playing the same games with the same people at the same time in the same park, thinking they're going to change their life, and nothing changed about their story because they changed nothing in their story. So I hope you pay attention today, because I really want to help people. If you are dealing with anxiety, I want to push you to get out of that. If you are dealing with depression, I want you to push you to get out of that. And I want to push you to not, use substances, food, or drink to regulate your emotions. And I don't want you to remain stuck in the same old story with the same old characters, playing the same old games at the same old playground. Doing the same old thing, thinking something's going to change because you have a new willpower. And I'm going here to tell you right now is that I think you're beautiful people, but most of our willpower sucks, and research backs that up. Okay, so let's move it on. Here's a quote that I like to really focus on. Too many people spend half of their life in fear of others. The other half, they are busy trying to charm others. Leave that play immediately. You have played enough. We've all kind of gone through this in our stories. We want our stories to be impressive to others, and we want our stories to not be judged by others, and we want to abandon experiencing any type of criticism in life, but that's just impossible. And so it's not really normal for people to go through life and have people in their life who don't give them truth, or go through life and not terminate some people from their life. And so these are things that I kind of want you to think keep in mind as you go through, this webinars is, am I in fear of people, or am I trying to charm people, or where's the balance? And people will argue, well, you got to be afraid of some people and you got to charm some people. And I would say you really don't if you remain true to your authentic self. If you remain true to your authentic self, you will attract people in your life, and your tribe will be those you have attracted, not those you're trying to please, which is a huge difference when you go throughout life of trying to people please as opposed to trying to contribute to other people's lives to the best of your ability, because you've accessed some authenticity inside of you that you've recognized to make this world a better place. And that's much deeper living and focus. So here's what I see on my couch. When I encounter people, they have a problem with their story. So the problems with people and their story is this. Number one, most people who sit on my couch, they don't think they're enough. When they look at Facebook, when they look at Instagram, when they look at Twitter, when they look at the world, when they compare their life, they just don't feel like their life is enough. They don't feel like they're enough. They're not beautiful enough. They're not rich enough. They're not skinny enough. They're not successful enough. They don't understand that they are enough, but they think they're not enough. Another problem that people have with their story is that they are not living a life worth living. They are dealing with depression, anxiety, and suicide is going up. And you think, oh, we're such a great country and we're doing all these amazing things. And why is suicide going up? Why is suicide going up in America? Because people are not living a life worth living, because they feel like they're not enough. They are not contributing to society. Most people contribute to their Facebook feed or their Instagram feed or their social media feed, but they're not contributing to their neighbor's welfare, They're not contributing to their own welfare. And so they get stuck, doing all these things for other people, sacrificing for other people, but not sacrificing for themselves. They're not focused on their legacy. One of the things that I challenge my clients to do is, for some of my clients, they need to sit their asses down and write a eulogy so they can really get serious about the kind of life that they want to live. Some people are dominated by their symptoms. They sit on the couch and they're just depressed, and every time they call you, they just want to talk about their depressive symptoms. Some are not engaging in meaningful relationships. They're in relationships that hurt, and they still pursue those hurtful relationships. Some are not engaging in meaningful activities. Some are not focused on their strength. Some are too busy comparing themselves. Some are not living their life to the fullest. Some are depressed. Some are anxious. You guys get what I'm saying. There's a lot of problems with people and their story, and they don't fix it. And when you don't fix it, that's when you remain stuck. So I want to talk a little bit more about the problems of their story. Then I want to give you some tools to fix if you do have problems in your story. But I want to highlight some of the ones that I see the most, and then move on to reconstruction of the story. So each day people play the same song because they like it. Now, there was a study done that said if you put two sets of dogs in a cage, and one set of dogs you shocked while they were in the cage, you kept shocking them, right? Then the other set of dogs, you never shocked them ever. And then you opened up all of those dogs' cages so their doors are open. When you shock the dogs that have never been shocked before, they run off and never come back. But when you shock the dogs that have been shocked repeatedly, they actually fall over, defecate, and whimper, and have to be dragged out of their dog cages. Why do you think that is so? It's because they've normalized dysfunction. Say it with me, normalize dysfunction. You can normalize dysfunctional people, dysfunctional habits, dysfunctional thinking, and it actually starts to become comfort. You start to play the same old song. Why do you keep going to that same old person who is not good for you? Why? Because you've normalized dysfunction. Why do you keep going to the same old stuff over and over again? Because you've normalized dysfunction. And so we all press play to some of the same songs that are not good for us, that don't push our story forward. So I think you guys all get what I'm trying to say, is that you can wake up each day and think, I'm not enough. And so you wake up and then your sleep is not enough. And you sit at the breakfast table and your breakfast is not enough. Then you go to work and your car is not enough. And then you put on your clothes and your clothes is not enough. And then your lunch time is not enough. And then your afternoon meditation time was not enough. And then dinner is not enough. And then your friends is not enough. And then your success in life is not enough. And then it gets this vicious cycle of feeling like, you're never enough. And some people press play to that vicious cycle every single day because they haven't learned to embrace their story in such a beautiful way. You are enough, and we're going to get to that. So the ones that I see the most, that these will impact people's story the most. And then I want to help everyone redefine their story. People, if you don't understand that you are enough, then you will wake up and think to yourself, I'm not enough. I see this again. I'm talking about that enough. Let me give you the second thing I see so much. People think to themselves, I can't fire people from my life. I hear this so much. Let me tell you something. You better learn how to fire toxic people from your life right now, today. Or you're going to be trying to fix people who are broken. Then you get cut in the process and you're mad about it. when you try to fix broken people, you get cut up. You hear what I'm trying to say? You need to be trained and licensed. You need to learn how to fire the people from your life right now. The third thing you need to learn how to do. I can't express my negative emotions in a respectful way. Some people, the only emotion they know how to experience is anger. If you don't learn how to express your emotions in a respectful way, then you will push people away from you. You won't connect emotionally with people. You won't learn how to connect emotionally with people, and it will have a huge impact on your story. A lot of things people don't understand. I can't enjoy meaningful people, activities, and conversations. You can enjoy those things more than a telephone. Let me tell you something. I love the people in my life. There's 7.5 billion people in this world, and I have sought out the best to be a part of my tribe. I've sought out the best people to be a part of my tribe, and I love it. And I need all of you guys to understand that you can experience that in a great way. It's a beautiful thing. How's my audio right now? One of the things that I see people interfering with in their stories is that they feel like they have to be responsible for other people's feelings. I hear this the most. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Let me tell you guys something. You better learn how to start hurting people's feelings real quick. And you better learn how to start asking for what you need and want from others in the most respectful way. This list I looked at probably thousands of clients that I've sat with, and I said, what are the common themes that I see? And the common themes that I see in most of my clients is these things. These are straight bullshit and lies that people believe every single day. This stuff, if you believe any of this, then your story won't be what it can possibly be. Is everybody following me? Am my video good? Am my audio good? I just want to check in. All right, video, audio good.
Yeah,
Brian,
your audio's good. It breaks up a little bit from time to time. I don't know if that's just my internet connection, but it breaks up a little. It gets a little staticky from time to time. The audio does.
We need you to upgrade your internet, Adam.
I'm gonna do that.
All right, so here we go. This is one of the biggest lies I feel that people believe. People believe that one of the biggest lies that people believe in humanity that I see is their story is a real one, but very few people ever allow their story to be embraced and accepted. So I think that one of the biggest lies in humanity, is that if you tell the truth, I won't be accepted. And I need everyone to understand that. And if you are to ever get to redefining your story, if you're to ever get to a place of redefining your story, if you need to ever get to a place of wanting to redefine your story, it's crazy. As a therapist, I think one of the biggest things I do is help people embrace raw and rigorous honesty. Because all y'all some emotional liars. How you doing? I'm cool because I'm cool. How you doing? I'm fine. How you doing? I'm good. How you doing? I'm cool. How you doing? I'm all right. How you doing? I'm good. Everything is good. So it's easy to get in a place where people feel like it's easy to get to a place where people feel like they can't be honest. Is that making sense, everybody? It's easy to get to a place where you feel like you can't be honest with people, and I need you all to realize you can be you can be honest with other people. So how do we redefine this? Any questions so far before we move on to part 2? Because I'm right on time. So let me take a few minutes to do any questions before we move to part 2. What we said so far. We've established the problem with people's stories. We've established the issue that people experience. Now I want to get people to how they can redefine their story as they move forward with some positive affirmations. Any questions that anyone has?
I have a question.
Go for it.
But what if you're trying to be honest with people who are married? They're in a relationship that I can't interfere, or I don't know.
Say more.
Like, say if you notice something within the marriage and you think someone's not treating the other person as good, but they think they are treating the person good, should I say something about it?
I believe there's 2 traps that people can fall into. And you just mentioned one of the 2 traps that I feel like human beings can fall into. And trap number 1 is we can obsess over the performance of others too much. And I don't believe anyone should obsess on the performance of others. I like to think of every human being as a house. If you can worry about what's going on in your backyard the most and worry about what's going on in your house the most and never bother yourself with somebody else's backyard or household, unless it's a danger to yourself and others or kids or elderly people, then you'll keep yourself very peaceful instead of trying to fix everything. I don't know if that answered your question, but I do want to put the caveat that might be borderline looking over the fence of someone else's backyard when you should probably worry about your own plants and yours. If that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay. Because I believe too, what I have learned over the years as a therapist is that most people are doing the best they can. Mm-hmm. And most people, if you utilize a high level of curiosity, there's usually an answer that you'll discover. But if you utilize a high level of criticism, and there's usually answers you will never discover. And and as a therapist, if I think a husband is not treating his wife in an appropriate way, or the wife is not treating the husband in an appropriate way, I try to bend in criticism and activate curiosity. And I usually get to a place where they share something in their story that reveals to me why they're treating their partner the way they are. But it takes a lot of time and patience.
Yeah.
That makes sense, Miss Watson?
Makes sense.
All right. Anyone else got a question of part 1 before we dive into part 2?
I do have a question about part 1, but it might segue into part 2 about coping mechanisms, especially during times like this where I feel like some of my coping mechanisms aren't there anymore. Like, how do you transition that, and how do you get back into, getting into that routine of better coping mechanisms?
We will address those here in the next 30 minutes of some coping mechanisms. But that's an excellent question. And what I've been challenging everyone with is you have to be creative during these times. Mm-hmm. You have to be really creative in how you cope. And unfortunately, healthy coping skills is not something that is taught. I wish they could teach some of those things in schools more. But that's something I will share, some healthy coping skills that you can execute. The coping skill that I'm focusing on the most right now is what we call cognitive affirmations. And so I am a cognitive behavior therapist. And so I believe you are who you think you are, and you will do what you think you can do, and you will be what you think you can be, and you will do exactly what you think you can't do. and you'll do exactly what you think you won't do, and you'll always be with who you think you won't get, and you'll be with exactly who you think you will get, and you'll live exactly where you think you won't live. And I believe your thinking has everything to do with who you are. And when you're thinking right, when you're thinking I'm more than enough, go ahead and say what you're going to say. What's inside of me is what matters, not what's inside of your raggedy brain. So at the end of the day, I know that I'm more than enough because I use positive affirmations, and it makes me actually sick to my stomach if I sit around someone who's negative all the time. It actually makes me turn inside like, oh my goodness, they need some medicine or a therapist. But usually they'll rather pick up some marijuana or a beer. But that's just the truth, y'all. Let's tell the truth, because at the end of the day, coping is not something that's modeled really well on the job or in our homes or anything. It's actually the worst things are pursued, you know? Can you imagine a coworker talk about, oh, I'm stressed, y'all want to go over to a yoga class Friday night? They'll be like, girl, I'm going to the bar, everybody going to no damn yoga. You know? But you know, if you was at lunch and you went up to your coworkers, you're like, oh, I could use a long walk and meditation in the park. They're like, girl, I could use a coke, I could use a glass of wine and some other stuff. You know, healthy coping skills is not really talked about. You're kind of seen as weird or whatever. So I like with your question, Amanda, and that's a great question. We'll talk about that. So let's go on to part two. It was a right on time with part two. Now, this is everything I'm going to share with you. This next part is to redefine your story. And then I want you to ask questions in the end, and I'll do the best I can we do the best I can. I like Salisa said, we have to normalize healthy coping mechanisms in Black and Brown communities. Come on, amen, Salisa. Go and get in that. Go and be a co-host of this webinar. You know, we got to normalize healthy coping skills in the community. Can't be, them liquor stores need to go get shut down, all them damn liquor stores. We need some other stuff, you know, in the community. So, all right, now let's move on to the second part. We have to shift our core beliefs. And this is, until you accomplish this as a coping mechanism, you'll never move on to successful living, in my opinion. The first part has everything to do with acceptance and forgiveness. And I think before you can even forgive someone else, you have to learn how to forgive yourself. And you can do that every single day. And you can start to learn how to have empathy for other people. Okay? You can learn how to have empathy for other people when you can say to yourself, I am more than enough, and I'm more than the worst things I've ever done. I want everybody to take a deep breath and think of the person who you are afraid of the most. Think of the person who you're trying to avoid the most criticism from, and imagine yourself saying this to them. I am more than enough and more than the worst things I've ever done. So shut the F up. No, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. But, you know, if you have to, I ain't saying don't be causing a problem in people's lives now. What I'm trying to say is you will start to see the power. One of the things that I do with my clients, if the mall was open, I make my clients walk through the mall, not in their fanciest clothes, not with their hair done, but I'll make my clients walk through the mall as many times as they can and say to themselves, I am more than enough and more than the worst things I've ever done. And every single client has said that has helped transform their thinking, that their power lies within themselves and that their fear of people is irrational and foolish most of the time. That makes sense? This has to be like doing push-ups or doing sit-ups. It has to be a daily ritual. One of the things that you have to understand when you shift beliefs, you have to understand that I can terminate toxic people from my life. There's 7.6 billion people on this earth. You have to choose the best people to engage with. Let me say that one more time. There's 7.6 billion people on this earth. Choose the best people to engage with. Choose the best people to engage with. Diane, turn your volume down. You have to choose the best people to engage with. Because what I see is every single person that I see sometimes struggling, they struggle with terminating toxic people from their life. Because usually those are the people they're trying to get acceptance from. And usually that's sometimes the result of trauma, or usually that's sometimes that is a result of not feeling like you're enough, that you can be attractive. How you attract positive people in your life is to be attractive. Be funny, be warm, be gentle, be loving. You will attract people in your life like crazy. I kid you not. Trust me. It's true. I can respectfully communicate my negative emotions. You know, when I survey the land, I see whether people are in a new car, new clothes, new boyfriend, new house, they still feel like shit. And they don't terminate toxic people from their life. And they don't communicate their emotions in a respectful way. And it's not just a one-time thing, it's a constant thing. And they don't ask for what they need and want in the most respectful way. Now, I keep saying in the most respectful way because we haven't normalized how to talk to people in the most respectful way to get what we need from them. Okay? So these 4 deep core beliefs, I think, is a start on redefining your story. Now, is there any questions on this page? Because I don't want to move from this page unless everyone's been able to process it, because I believe it's very important to redefine your story when you are able to shift your deep core beliefs and not think any alternative. Any questions on this page before we move on from it? And this page has changed my life forever, and it changes my clients' lives when I see them start to utilize every one of these core tenets. And I like to keep it simple because mental health can be very complicated, but this is all things that you can do. This is what's in your control. You can't control other people, but you can control how you allow other people to operate in your life. Because Autumn, you get what you tolerate in your story. Brian, you get what you tolerate in your story. Okay? You get what you tolerate in your story, Demetria. You get what you tolerate in your story, Miranda. You get what you tolerate in your story, Celisa. You get what you tolerate. And that puts the responsibility back on you, because who do we like to blame, y'all, in our story? We like to blame everybody else for how they making me feel. Well, you in charge of your own emotions. And I like to say your feelings is like shit. You wipe them yourself unless something is wrong with you. Okay? So don't be expecting nobody to be responsible for your feelings. You are responsible for your feelings, and a lot of time you're feeling that way because you keep tolerating that same bullshit and normalized dysfunction in your life. You still won't go to bed, and you think you're about to have a good day. I tell every single one of my clients, I can't do nothing with you till you learn how to take your ass to sleep. And that's the truth, y'all. That's the truth. Okay, I see a question up here. Are we clear? Is that everybody that makes sense?
I have a question.
Go for it.
For the I can respectfully communicate my negative emotions to others. How do you do that in a workplace? Just like with, everything going on. I personally feel overwhelmed a lot recently, and I don't quite know how to convey that to my supervisor in a respectful way without lashing out. So are there like any tips or steps I should take in doing
Absolutely.
that?
So I teach prompts, and I use these prompts every day in my life, and they have worked for me. My first prompt is, I'm feeling some type of way, I need. Now, what you need, I'm not sure what you need, but you have to ask that. I'm feeling some type of way, I need to ensure that I can get 45 minutes at lunch. I'm feeling some type of way. I'm really overwhelmed with what's being asked of me. I'm feeling some type of way. Can we process some things that have been bothering me? I really need to understand a few things. I'm curious. Do you sense how people are stressed around you? I'm curious, do you see that I've been a little different? I'm really feeling some type of way. Is there any way I can process some things with you today for about 30 minutes? I'm feeling some type of way. I just need to share some things with you because I feel some anxiety and tense emotions coming up. Communication can sort all things out, but first you have to be willing to be honest and communicate. And you better find out real quickly who's going to be respectful in your life and respect what you need from them and expect what you want from them and expect what you desire from them, or you're going to become too adaptive and angry and mad because you want everyone else to be a mind reader. Ain't nobody a mind reader. You got to tell them what's on it. Y'all hear me? Ain't nobody reading your mind. And nobody should know how you feel. Because like I said, your feelings ain't nobody's responsibility but your own. So deal with them and wipe them and talk about them. You hear me?
So I have a question. So I can say I used to be like a people pleaser and, would have some of these problems. But when I became more self-aware, I started become more confident in changing the way I interacted with people, whereas I'm communicating more of my needs instead of, being a pushover. So how do you respond to or how do you deal with people where they necessarily aren't as responsive to the changes you've made to yourself, or we'll say you acting different or just are negative towards your change, but even though you feel it's good for you because you're speaking up?
Beautiful, beautiful. I love what you just said. You deal with them in two ways. You enforce your enforce your consequences, and you keep asking for change. You need to keep asking for change. Keep asking for change and enforce the consequences. So I developed the if-then theory. If you keep on disrespecting me, then you got to get out of my life. But I'm gonna keep asking you. If you keep calling me in the middle of the night, then you got to go to therapy and get some help because I ain't your therapist. If you keep disrespecting me, then I'm going to have to find some other people to talk to me the way I want them to talk to me. I will not tolerate your dysfunction. You need to get some help. I'm asking you to change. I'm going to keep asking you to change, but I'm not going to tolerate your dysfunction because you don't want to take responsibility for your own life. Stop talking to me like I'm crazy. Does that make sense? It's all about you. Never obsess over what anyone else is doing, but always obsess over what you're asking other people to do for you. Because until you express how you feel and express the change you desire and enforce a consequence, nobody will ever take you serious. Does that answer your question, young lady?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I love that. I just to kind of echo some stuff that's going on in the chat, when it comes to family members, and specifically family members that you kind of put more on a pedestal than others, I wouldn't mind talking to a cousin that way, letting them know my mind. But then when it comes to I think more key people in my life, like my mom or my father, those type of key players, or even like someone who's more like a guardian to you that you have a high esteem for, how do you make those conversations happen, and without like feeling like you have to totally let that relationship go if they're not hearing you out?
2 words, Autumn. I need. And so I deal with this on a daily basis. Mama, I need you to figure some things out because I'm gonna need you to quit asking me for money. Daddy, I need you to consider everything bothering me. At the end of the day, it all comes down to what you need. I don't want to hear about nothing somebody has said and didn't say and did and didn't do. I just need you to understand I need are going to be the most powerful words you use. If you came over my house right now, there's some things I'm going to need from you. I don't need to give you a 30-minute lecture on why. I just need you not to put your hands on my daughter, period. Okay? And that ain't going to never change. I'm going to need you to be grateful in my household because all things come from God. That's all. Just be grateful. Be thankful. And those 2 things are my important needs. Everyone has different needs. You know, everyone has different needs. And so you have to understand what you need. And when you express what you need and you can communicate what you need clearly and precisely to people, we have a tendency not to be precise because we're too afraid of hurting someone's feelings. Be very precise. I need you not to bring them drugs over my house. Thank you. Okay? Be precise. I need. And you don't have to make any excuses or explain why you need that because you are a unique human being, very unique in all your ways. And your needs are unique, and your desires are unique, and your wants are unique because you are unique and nobody is like you. And you need me to stay out your shoes, and I definitely will. All right, we're moving on to the next one. So I think one of the things that I've seen too over the years, and definitely this week and today, I've seen this a lot, is I can enjoy. It's amazing how we could write beautiful letters to other people, but we don't know how to write beautiful letters to ourselves. And we don't know how to enjoy ourselves, to be honest with you. We actually can't stand ourselves half the time, right? And we act like we like other people half the time, but we really don't like people most of the time. But we all play really well, you know? But meaningful people, what I have learned is I don't have to isolate. I would accept people like myself. Man, that has transformed my life. And so, you know what? You all get categories. Some people are mentors, and that's where they play. Some people are family. But I don't keep all of them. Y'all know family can be the most hurtful. Some people are friends, and some people are coworkers, and everyone has a role. But what I've learned is I can enjoy meaningful people. Isolation leads to separation from who you truly are in a community. All right? And I've learned this over the years. Don't be afraid of people, and don't be afraid to fail with people. Don't be afraid of people, and don't be afraid to fail with people. Okay? We all struggle, and struggle is beautiful. So stop acting like you don't have no failures in your life and learn from them. Learn from your failures because they're your greatest teachers. And whenever you fail, ask yourself the most important question you can ever ask yourself: how did I get here? What did I do wrong to get here? So I want you to think of your finances right now. I want you to think of your health right now. I want you to think of every relationship you have right now. And I want you to ask yourself one question: what habit have I been doing wrong to get this result? Okay? So how did I get here? And we need to focus on that. Number two, meaningful activities, go and discover a few. Stop sitting around the house obsessing over the performance of others, of people you can't change. Go grab a book, go write a book, go get a journal, go write some poems, go take a walk, go do some twerking, go do some skating, go do some stretching, go do some yoga, go help at a nursing home, go help your grandpa, go help your grandma, go help your special needs cousin, go down to the soup kitchen and cook up some soups. Do something, but stop obsessing. Stop obsessing over your failures. Stop obsessing over the failures of others. Do something, come alive, live some life, leave a legacy that at your funeral, we're excited to say something nice about you because you lived a life that was beautiful and amazing. Go do some meaningful activities with some meaningful people and have some meaningful conversations. I got a question for you. I'm struggling with drinking. Can you help me with this or some resources? You know, I've been smoking a little bit too much weed than I used to. I've been really struggling with trying to understand relationships. They just keep failing. Don't be afraid to have meaningful conversations and find some work you love and learn how to live independently and quit asking your mama for money and learn how to save $5 out of 10 and quit spending it on stupid stuff. This will help you live a life worth living, and you'll be proud of yourself. Your story, like, I'm responsible in my story. I choose good people in my story. I choose good work in my story. I love my life, y'all. I'm ready to die because I've redefined my story. Can't tell me what I am because I know what I am. I know what I like to do. I know what I love to do. I know where I want to go because I've defined my story. I've taken it to a place where I enjoy it. I love it. And I want you to do the same, okay? I want y'all to do the same. So I can tell the truth. This is the most catalytic thing you can do. Tell the truth. When things are not going right, tell the truth. When money is low, tell the truth. When relationships fail, tell the truth. And in the process, understand that I will accept equally flawed people like myself. If we can all learn to tell the truth and stop trying to hide behind the phones and hide behind the nice clothes and the nice cars or the degrees, tell the truth. I love when my family get together. They all get uncomfortable because I start telling the truth. You know, they're like, oh boy, here you go, telling the truth. Yeah, you serve your children, you alcoholic, but you acting like you a pastor. Get out of here, you drunk pastor. Tell the truth. Stop minimizing anything that's going on in your life, because here's the thing in the clinical world. The more you minimize the harsh reality, you start to actually live in a fantasy world. If you minimize anything you're going through in life, you actually start to live in a fantasy world. So tell the truth. And when you tell the truth, guess what? You can be human together with another human being, and you can actually experience real intimacy and start living a real story. Most of the people that I see on a daily basis, they're afraid of real intimacy because they're living a fake story. And when you embrace raw honesty, when you embrace rigorous honesty, you can start telling the truth and sort out your story, sort out your relationship, fold up those memories of your mom or dad, unpack stuff, sort out your story, and start telling the truth so you can redefine your story. There's one thing I want to say before I open up the question, because I'm towards the end. You all have a unique story. You all have unique gifts, talents, strengths. You all have unique needs. You all have a uniqueness that no one else can emulate. And I want you to understand that uniqueness, and don't be afraid to speak up and find good people who can facilitate that goodness inside of you. Okay? Speak up, and people who can facilitate that goodness inside you. I'm looking at a few of my scholars who I used to work with. I still see the goodness in you, and I hope you guys understand that you are more than enough. And I hope that you have surrounded yourself with amazing people who are blessing your life and encouraging you and pushing you to be the best. Because if not, I want you to run for the hills. You can terminate toxic people from your life. You can express your emotions respectfully. And I always get the same question. What if I tell the truth and express my feelings and nothing changed? Well, that's a clear indication that someone's not respecting you. Because how many times do you have to tell me to stay out your backyard? It shouldn't be 20. How many times do you have to tell me to stop throwing rocks at your house? It shouldn't be 20. We define our story by what we choose to take responsible for in our story. So I want you all to take responsibility for your story. Sort it out. You have a responsibility to sort out your story, just like you sort out your laundry. You have a responsibility to sort out your story, to clean out your story, just like you clean out your car. Our stories get chaotic, and it's your responsibility to take a step back and say, okay, what's really going on here? What's really happening? Am I remaining true to my authentic self and living my true authentic life and redefining my story? Or am I sitting in the passenger side so afraid to tell someone to stop and let me out the car because I'm afraid of being rejected? There's an activity you guys can do. It's called the self-authoring suite. I've done it. The self-authoring suite, you can go here and it helps you sort out your story. It helps you with your past. You get to uncover things in your past that you may not have dealt with. It helps you with your present life, things that's going on in your present life. It helps you sort out your future life, what you really want for yourself. And it helps you also with your faults of things that don't always produce the best results within you. And as always, I would love to help. I want to help everyone remain on their own team. But I want everyone to get to a place in life where you can say to yourself every single day, I will remain on my own team. I will not turn on myself. My story is not complete. It is just getting started. I want everyone to understand, don't turn on yourself. Remain on your own team. Understand that your story is just getting started. And I want you guys to all understand that you are more than enough and you are more than the worst things you've ever done. And nobody can tell you what you are and what you are not. You got to cultivate good things inside of you. And don't you be afraid to bring amazing people in your life. And I would love to join anybody who needs someone in their life for some encouragement. As long as I'm above ground, I will encourage you. There's a few people on here who's kept in touch with me since Kaufman, and I've tried to be a positive encouragement in their life until this day. And you're more than enough. I'm going to tell you that for the rest of your life. That's why God has created me. I don't want you to suffer. I'm not going to ask you to suffer. I'm going to do everything I can to help you. Don't you hesitate to reach out. I will do everything I can to help you. All more than enough. And you have beautiful stories. And please embrace that story. Change that story. Take responsibility for that story. And stop blaming people for your story. Questions?
When you said run for the hills, did you mean literally?
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally and figuratively.
But it sounds easier than done.
It sounds easy and dumb. Let me tell you something. You talk to a therapist. You know how many times I tell that? You know how many times I tell my client, if you don't get your new phone number, don't come back in this office. Yes, I do.
But wait, are you talking about having a plan or just doing it, just getting up?
You listen. If you show up to work every day late, what's gonna happen to you?
I'm gonna get fired.
Okay, so there is also natural consequences in life in regards to people. Natural consequences. If you keep talking to me like I don't exist, you got to go. That's called natural consequences. And yes, you do run for the hills. If the job ain't treating you right, you run. If your neighbor threatening you, you run. If your mom and daddy ain't treating you right, you run. You don't stick around and tolerate that, because like I said in the dog analogy, if you tolerate dysfunction, you will normalize it. And trust me, you sometimes wonder, why don't she leave him? Why don't he leave her? Because they've normalized dysfunction. And when the brain normalizes dysfunction, it likes it too much and it's scared to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Don't be afraid. Tell the truth. Ask away. I'll accept you. I needed all this. Thank you, Galen. I needed you to say that, Galen. So thank you for saying that. I needed to hear that. So I hope this continues to bless you throughout your life. And don't be afraid to tell the truth to everybody in your tribe. Purify your tribe today and start telling the truth to them.
I got a question.
Come on, Cheyenne.
Yes. Okay, so everything that you've like been saying over this time that we've been on here has been really good, you know, but I keep thinking about how it's very like I need this and me and worrying about yourself and like literally just focusing on yourself. And so I guess I'm asking like what would be the balance between not becoming a person that just worries about themselves and becoming like a selfish person and like I need this and I require this and you not this and you not that, versus like okay, taking care of yourself and making sure that you aren't, you know, like getting run over, or you are expressing the things that you need respectfully, you know, professionally.
That's beautiful, Cheyenne. And I think it's impossible. It's impossible to turn into a selfish person when you surround yourself with beautiful people. Mm-hmm. And when you surround yourself with people who's going to tell you the truth, I think it's impossible for you to remain selfish. And it's a beautiful question you ask. Now, how you construct your life, when you understand the importance of community and telling the truth in community, then you will understand that the people who you have in your life, they are there to help you be the best people you can possibly be, the best person you can possibly be. And so when I mean expressing what you need and want is to not tolerate a level of dysfunction that is bad for your health, like literally bad for your health. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that I see in my clinical practice, I see too many people tolerating the dysfunction of their toxic friends, and they're too busy trying to be their therapist, too busy trying to be their substance abuse counselor, too busy trying to be the mothers they never had, too busy trying to be the daddies they never had. And what I say, Cheyenne, is one of the most honest things you can say to someone you love is, I'm sorry, I'm your friend. You need to go get some help, but I would like it if you consider therapy. That's all you can say. Mm-hmm. But you're expressing a need that's clear as opposed to trying to fix. I see a lot of people trying to fix people. And no one fixes anyone because we all accept everyone when they tell the truth. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
That also made me think about like when you said the right people in your life, because if you are surrounded by people who are as self-aware and in tune and love themselves as you love yourself, then I think the things that you ask of them wouldn't seem like you're being selfish because they would be understanding as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like but everybody would have to be, I think, on that same kind of like wavelength to understand that.
Boy.
Very good.
No,
Very
I need
good.
to buy some.
Any other questions?
I just want to jump in here. So it is 6:33, And if you guys have to get off, thank you so much for joining us. But if you, of course, want to stay on and do some more Q&A, that's totally fine. I'm so game for it. But I just wanted to respect the time of anybody who, unfortunately, who doesn't have the time to extend anymore. So feel free to leave. And thank you so much for coming if you have to go now. That's all I had, Stefan. So you can continue your Q&A.
Right.
Hey, Mr. Staley.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Yeah,
buddy?
I gotta go. How's it going? I'd love to stay a little bit longer, but today's my dad's birthday, so we're gonna go out to eat here pretty soon. I just wanted to say it's really nice to see you again virtually. I have your phone number here. Hopefully I can reconnect with you. It's been a while, and it was a great pleasure listening and all this information that you gave us. I think it's really useful, and I connected real well with some of the things that we discussed today. But yeah, I hope you have a great evening, and great evening to everyone else too.
It was good. It was so good to see you, Brian, and I was so glad and honored to be your coach, man. I'm glad you're doing great things. Reach out to me, send me an email, man. It was so good to see you.